You're so youthful.
Oh,
Morning, everybody. Welcome back to Chai Together. I am your host and founder, Pratipa Day. Today, you are tuning in for your cup of courage, hope, and imagination, hence Chai. And I'm here with Mrs. Janine, also known as JJ Conway. Ooh, JJ.
hi, how you doing?
I'm doing
Yep, yep,
great.
yep. I'm excited to be here. It's you have such a fantastic vibe and such a fantastic thing that you're doing to encourage people, their courage, their hope, and what was the other one? Imagination, inspiration.
Imagination. Hmm.
I kept thinking of all the different ways that you could do chai, and I'm just like, I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad that Prativa is doing this because people need to be encouraged and they need to
Aw.
know that they can make it no matter what they're fighting, no matter what the obstacles are.
I realized yesterday after having an interview with Madison, and she was great when she came on here. It was her first time having an interview conversation, telling her story. And I was just like, this inspires me because people inspire me, hearing their stories and then they have a platform to speak on. I said, I don't know anyone else who's doing something like Chai Together, on a daily basis, sharing stories. And I know hundreds of people, so it's like, it's different. It makes me realize that if I don't do it, it's either, they say someone else will do it, like in the world, if I don't do it. But it's like in our community, it's like if there's no Pertiba, there's no Chai Together,
hmm
So it's
hmm
like I have
hmm
to show up for the community and myself, of course.
It's your
It makes
unique
my
voice and it's unique ability to extract from people the stories that others need to hear to be encouraged. That's a
mind.
gift.
It is a gift. I was always into, since I was young, I would speak with homeless people and elderly at volunteer homes. And I always love hearing people's stories. And I was like, I'm going to have a YouTube one day, but I just didn't have the confidence, to be on. Like, I was like, oh, I need the perfect background. I need the, how Les says, start where you are with what you have. I just didn't
That's
have
right.
that kind of
That's right.
mentality. But I always wanted to showcase people's stories, and what goes around comes around. It's like, look at me, I'm doing it now, even though it's like, who knows, 10 years later. But whatever you're supposed to do, I feel like you end up doing it in life one way or another. Life
hmm
makes you do it. I don't know, what's your thought on that?
Oh, I feel like there's a lot of things. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my physics career in the
Hmm.
military. They have in physics they have these things called attractors, and you can have a chaotic system where everything's going crazy, but at the end of
Hmm.
the day, the math collapses down to a circle shape or a infinity shape or these different
Hmm.
shapes. They call the
Hmm.
shapes attractors, and so I'm not going to get into the science, but what I take from that I apply to my life is like you can have everything go crazy and you can make all of these decisions, but
Hmm.
at the end of the day, your life is going to collapse down to whatever it is that you're supposed to do. And it's
Wow.
up to you to work with it. And the
Wow.
sooner you get on board and the sooner you go into it and start working into what your calling is, the sooner you can have that impact and the more of an impact that you can have.
Wow. Yeah, I feel a bit emotional after yesterday's. Like, everyone was tuning into yesterday's video with Madison. I was like, you're a motivational speaker. Did you know that? She never heard anyone say that to her. And it's not about Madison, but it's just yesterday reminded me that she's a fresh face. Like, she's not an entrepreneur, like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
her to do that, it just opened up so many doors of belief in herself, So I'm like, wow, I did that for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
you
know what I
did.
mean? Like, that's like, wow, because she chose me. Most people who came on the show since last year, I was their first person, that they were interviewing with, and they chose me because they felt comfortable, you know, with me and coming on here first. And that's important. That means something, that
Mm-hmm.
people are coming to me. So,
Right, because everybody has a different role.
hmm.
Everybody has a different role, and I don't know. I am now on the stage, like I get paid to go around and speak and stuff,
Hmm.
but it's been a long time of that. Like it's my full-time thing now, right? I speak, I
Yeah.
coach, I train, and I'm mostly mom, right? So I love that. I love
Hmm.
that life. But one of the things that I had to come to terms with back in the day before I could even walk into this space was I had
Hmm.
to come to terms with the fact that I'm actually really gifted behind the scenes. I'm
Mm.
really good at putting together conferences and I'm really good at interviewing somebody else and letting them shine. And it was like, yeah, but I want to be the one that shines. And what and what I didn't realize is you don't have enough people out there that can really help others shine. And so when someone like you comes along, it's like, oh my goodness, she's so amazing. for somebody else to be able to take your borrowed belief. And now who knows where she's going to be this time next year. She might be on those big stages speaking to crowds of thousands, and everybody's
Mhm.
tearing up and crying because now they know they can do it. You
Mhm.
know?
That's what I told her. I was just like, and I never said this to anyone, and I've had, so many people on my show by now. And I said this to her. I said, I can see you being bigger than me. Like, and that's what, not coming from a place of love and not, envy or anything. Like, I think in abundance, it's like my place is my place, but your place, how coaches always want to see people exceed beyond them, like how Les Brown
Mm-hmm.
says, I want to see someone go beyond me. Or anyone, if they genuinely mean it. It's like, I really felt that way about her. Like, when she came on, I was like, I feel like you can host this. You know what I mean? I was like, you need your own show.
Absolutely.
I
Oh, I
haven't.
know. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
And the funny part is a lot of times people have to borrow our belief. So she's going to borrow your belief until she
Yeah.
develops her own belief in her. And it's just like
Like that.
sometimes it's like, boy, if I had your heart and your warmth and your all these things, I would be this much bigger. But one
Mm.
thing I do have is the drive and the push and the
Mhm.
persistence.
You
But
do.
and so that's me. But then so many of the people I interview, I'm like, look, we're all going to be working for you one day. Just don't forget about me, all right? I'm going to always remember that I knew you before you were famous, and we're all going to be famous together. We're all
Wow.
going to be influential in our communities together. We're all going to be doing something that gives our life meaning together.
Mm.
And so it's really not about the competition, but really more about how do I build you up? How do you build me up?
Mhm.
You may not know it, but even that day when you sent me this mug,
Mhm.
it just made my day because
Mhm.
you hadn't known me very long. I think you saw me on like one or two Les
Mhm.
Brown trainings.
Mhm.
And for Les Brown to pour into us the way he did and really lend me his belief that there
Mm.
was greatness in me, because I started off thinking there was greatness in me, but
Wow.
everything that happened in life just beat me down and beat me down until I got to a point where I'm like, well, I'm no better than anybody else. And then even sliding further into I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not this,
Mm.
I'm not that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes that borrowed belief of an encouraging person like yourself to
Mm.
lift up. And I remember, every stage of my journey, there's something else that I have to be lifted up from. And I'm just so thankful for Les Brown for connecting us.
I just have to say, and then I do want to read your bio to the viewers so
Oh, okay,
everyone can know.
okay.
No, but I do want, that's okay. It's just free flow. But it's interesting because you say the mug, and I don't know if you know this, but I made a video telling the story of how this all came about. It came to me in a dream, and I made it come to life, like literally a dream. A dream that I had last year, and I sketched it and I painted it, and this is my actual painted design from just,
Oh, okay.
you know what I mean? The fact that,
Wow.
yeah, and it's interesting, and you may have known about my abortion. I'm not sure if you do know that story, right? So that part, a baby came to me in a dream inside of the mug, and I was like, I have to do something with this. Like it's a sign, and of course inspired by my mom, but I put it all together. And when I first spoke on camera, I've never done this before. It was the 3-minute speech for Les Brown. Since the Les Brown program, that really catapulted me into everything, like the confidence and everything. He really, like, I remember when I was 20 years old, so I'm 28. So I'm still quite young. But when I was 20, I was here, I was laying on the floor, like suicidal. And I remember
Mm,
listening to his video, It's Not Over Until You Win. Someone had showed it to me from a network marketing company with Johnny Wimbry at the time. And I actually saw Johnny Wimbry 2 weeks when I went to Les Brown's event about a month ago in New York. And he gave me a tight hug and he said he remembers me. And I was like, me? And like Johnny Wimbry remembers me, and he gave me a tight hug. And I was like, and then I remember speaking with Miss Robin Clark Power, where she was like, Pratiba, don't you know that you have a presence? Like, she was like, I don't know if you like see what others see, like in me, you know what I mean?
mhm,
And that could be because of traumas and stuff, like you're still not there yet. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So
mhm,
the whole point is that when I saw Les Brown across from me at that event, he was like, I could see him. He's in like the physical condition after being in Power Voice. It was just, I said, I think I'm going to cry, like, because it's just so moving. It's like, we've been working with him online, but to see him in person, see how much
mhm.
he's changed our lives. And you
Yep.
were saying he So since his program, now you're doing more speaking and getting paid for and everything, right? Or were you doing that before as well?
Well, I was doing it before, but I was active duty military. So his
Yeah.
program was one of the first things that I signed up for
Yeah.
after. I'd already been speaking publicly and getting paid okay, but I
Mhm.
wanted to take it to the next level. And the thing is that the speakers in my National Speaker Association group, our
Mhm.
chapter here in North Dallas, they wanted me to focus on some areas of my life that were just, they were kind of painful. And I really just wanted
Mhm.
to move away from all of that and just kind of retire from the Air Force and just start over and this whole new world and this whole new career field.
Mhm.
And they all those speakers were like, no, you have a story.
Mhm.
You may not want to talk about that forever, this will get you on more stages than what you've been doing. And so what Les Brown did was he showed me how to speak that truth. And
Mm.
he showed me how to do it in a way where I wasn't breaking down in tears all the time talking about those things.
Mhm.
When I was in 2014, I was a finalist for Miss Veteran America.
Oh,
And
wow.
the Miss Veteran America competition is designed specifically to raise money for homeless female veterans. Well, I
Wow.
had a period of my life where I was homeless, and I
Mhm.
really wanted to be able to speak on that platform and talk about how there weren't any support services for people like me back then.
Mhm.
But I would go into the sessions and my emotions and the tears and everything, I hadn't
Mhm.
processed and dealt with it enough to really be able to speak to. And so I didn't have a very good showing. I mean, I made it to the finals. I was on that
Yeah.
stage, right? I was on that stage, but yeah, it's what Les did was he showed me how to really connect around that story. And so I'm
Mhm.
going to be ever grateful for that.
But it does mean something for you to do that, because I remember when Dr. John Agulu, he had his live event last year with Les being virtual, and I went on stage in Atlanta, and my story was still raw. So I remember half of the people were like, do I intend to shout? And the other half were like, I think you could be more passionate. And that's sexist because Eric Thomas shouts. I've seen Eric Thomas live, different things. So it's like now that a woman is raising her voice, telling her story, people aren't used to that as well. So I
Nope.
got both perspectives about it, because some people aren't raised that way, where a woman's supposed to raise her voice. And I got hell of a voice, so I don't compete for nobody.
So we
I
do
don't give a
both.
fuck. Like, I'm very raw, and it's like it's just so interesting, because that I was starting to be self-conscious for about 2 days. I was like, okay, like, am I shouting? But like, this is who I am. Like, this is, and people, people's opinions and all those things. Forget all that. Forget coaches. People are human. No one's perfect. Like, just because a coach or whoever tells you something, less than John, like everybody overall, it's like none of us are perfect. Like, coaches are humans too. So it's really, I had to think about like, who am I? Like, what do I feel? Do I feel like I'm shouting? And question those things, like, inside of me. Okay, what am I comfortable with? Okay, well, this is where I am, and I'm gonna keep getting better. It's my first time on there. So, but I like your shirt. It says, speak your truth, unmute. So is that your slogan now?
It's not my slogan. This is
Yeah.
actually Carol Campbell Fullard, and she was
Mm.
one of my guest speakers for the Black and Gold Conference, and I just kind of usurped her shirt because I love it.
Wow. Yeah,
But
because you
she
were
has a
saying, speak your truth.
yes,
Yeah.
because a lot of us have allowed life to mute us. And
Mhm.
and the thing is with my story, and I don't know how much of it we want to share, but there's some
Mhm.
really unsavory things that our
Mhm.
society just isn't ready to address. And for
Yeah.
me, the racial dynamics and the perceptions of a single mother in our
Mhm.
nation and all of these different things together, it makes you feel like you have to choose between being authentic
Mm.
and being how do I want to say it, acknowledging
Mhm.
who you are, or going along to get along, getting along to go along, playing along with others, don't rock the boat. And it's not even just in the traumas of our
Mm.
background, but even in the other day, maybe a couple months ago, I was talking with a colleague, and I was kind of evaluating whether I wanted her in my next event.
Mm.
And she was saying something and about, having the confidence and being able to go forward. Well, a lot of people have heard me talk about being slow, being labeled slow. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm way older than I look. So,
Yeah, I
so
was gonna
that,
say you look freaking amazing, like so good. Your skin, I don't know if that's makeup, but like,
well, I was about to go put on some makeup. I was like, well, you know what? Let me just do a little
will you
eyeliner,
do you share your
a little
age?
eyeliner and some makeup. I mean, and some lipstick.
But do you share your age? You look
What's
amazing. You
that?
have that.
Well,
You
my
have
body,
amazing.
my body feels it though. Let me tell you. But the thing is back, today we have a lot of different things that would be diagnosed. You can go take your child to get in
Mm,
the ADHD, autism, all these different
mhm.
things that, back in the day, you were slow or you were challenged or you were some other words that we don't like to say anymore. And, when the teachers told my mom I was slow, then I was slow and there was no expectation, no hope for me. It
Wow.
was if she worked hard, maybe one day she could be a janitor or a cashier at the
Oh my
grocery store.
God.
That's what they literally told my
Wow.
mom. And I was like, well, I'd love to be a cashier. So my mom used to go around saying, no, Janine wants to be a cashier when she grows up. But I didn't realize that the limitations that people put on you. So I'm talking with this other speaker and I'm she's like, well, you should never, say this or say that. And I forget the exact thing.
Mm,
But what I told her, I said, don't you do that to me, because what you're doing is you are negating all of my hard work, learning how to look people in the eye, learning how to overcome the anxiety that comes with being on the spectrum, overcoming all of these different things that I've had to overcome so that people don't treat me like the dumb, slow child.
right.
And when you say this and you say that, you have now negated everything that I've worked so hard for, because
Mhm.
you didn't have to struggle with those things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so she's not speaking at my next conference, but
No, but no,
but we have to be able to speak our truth and we have to be able to own it. You're not going to take that away
yeah.
from me that I succeeded in an area that few people who don't have those challenges
Mm.
succeeded in.
There's a way to criticize someone. I mean, it's all about the approach, and communication is key, like comprehend that. But during that time, it's like I did get support for going up there, and it's like I was on fire. Yeah, like I do go hard and get hot and all that stuff. But it's, as you become a better speaker, you learn how to maneuver certain crowds and things. And it's just, it was an older crowd. I mean, Power Voice, most people are older. I'm one of the younger people who was in school during the time when I'm doing this, and I'm
Mhm.
still like going back to school. But I'm in my 20s, so most people are starting, older. Like you are older than me, and for
Yeah.
me to learn, Bob Proctor's material and all this stuff that I do now and have my own brand now, most people don't do this in their life, and just that time, I feel like instead of there's a way, I feel like there could have been a better way to tell me or things like that. Then because it's like during that time, it's a sensitive thing. It's a big deal for me to even go up on stage, like to need more support. Like, hey, Pratika,
Mhm.
you did great. More so of that than more so of like the shouting comment was from my actual friend, and like we discussed it and all. But at the time, I feel other like the people who were my coaches, I feel like they could have came to me in a way to address that, like, hey, these are things I think you could work on. That's what a great coach does to me. But I just would have preferred more support and more positive, like,
Mhm.
criticism.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
that
Well,
made me
sometimes
feel
people don't know until you strike a
how
nerve.
to do it. Yeah. Like I felt a little bit like uncertain about myself, and no one should ever feel that way. Like when I'm just coming into this industry,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a woman. Like, what do I do? I don't know. Like, are there like, you know what I mean? Cause I am a woman. Like, anyway, I do want to tell the people about you now that we have people tuning in.
Okay.
So we already mentioned that Miss Janine, that you graduated from the Air Force Academy, and you were the first African American woman to serve as a physicist in the Air Force, and where you retired as a lieutenant colonel after 23 plus years. And after returning from a 6-month military trip to discover your house being sold, divorce papers, and over $800,000 in debt to your name, you had to learn how to hustle in a hurry. And I can say from knowing you that you do that. And now you teach others to do the same, and personal growth and financial management skills that allow them to dump their debt and begin building wealth. And You also mirror these principles when working with businesses to improve processes, people, and profit. And people can find you at JJ Knows the Way on all platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And here
In
with
here.
me.
Yep. Yep.
But the one thing when I was reading your bio that gets to me is that you're the first African American woman.
Or African American at all.
Wow. So
Yeah.
do you not want to date your age? Like,
Well, it's
wow.
interesting. It's interesting because the first minority physicist in the Air Force, and
Mm,
actually I found out the other day that the other services don't have physicists. So
mhm.
I guess that was really the military, but I don't have paperwork that says the military. I just have paperwork that says the Air Force.
Wow.
But the first two minority physicists were two brothers that are Hispanic, and I graduated with the younger brother, and he went on to become the military assistant to the chief scientist of the Air Force. So, but I remember the day where he got very upset with me. He's like, "I'm a much better physicist than you are," and I'm like, "You are, but people like me more."
Ooh! I love how raw you are. You just are like earlier you were saying that girl that woman's not coming on my event anymore.
Well, and you have to protect your brand, and you have to protect your
Wow.
environment. And I only want uplifting. Now, I don't mind criticism. I don't mind critical people if
Yeah.
they come in a spirit of uplifting and upleveling.
That's what
Right?
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to uplift
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
So, if it took all your strength to get up on that stage, don't come at her and beat her down. Okay. Let her calm down, and let her grow, and support her and encourage her and tell her about the things she did right. And then later on, when she's preparing for the next one, be like, "Hey, let's run through that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that seems a little strong to me. Do we have some emotion we need to work on here? Or
Yes.
is that the intent that you want to have? You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
don't kick somebody when they've just done one of the hardest things in their lives, But yeah, it's a very interesting thing. And I'm very proud of the fact that I was a physicist in the Air Force. And I'm very proud of the fact that I chaired some of our nation's highest technical committees.
Wow.
And it's a feather in my cap. But when I look back over my life, I'm thankful. I want to say this the right way. I'm thankful for the journey, because I had to overcome a lot of racism, and I had to overcome a lot of assumptions. Anytime
Mm.
you see a brown woman walk in the room, people would assume that I was there to collect the trash or to drive the slides. And even though my name is on there, I have to be like, no, I'm your new chair. I'm your new chairman of this committee.
Wow.
That's just the assumption that people made. And so, our society has come a long ways in just 30 years, but still we've got a long ways to go. And for me, being told that I couldn't declare physics because I was Black, and being told that I couldn't do this because I was Black, and Blacks can't do this and Blacks can't do that. That's how life was back then, in the 80s and even some into the 90s. That's just how life was. And nobody had a problem saying that, because that's just how life was. And so things are really different today. And for that, I am very thankful.
Wow.
But I spent so much of my life trying to prove those people wrong, instead of trying to figure out what my calling and gifting really was for.
Mm.
And so it's not, I like the fact that there are things that happen in this world and on TV that I wish I could tell you that I was a part of it, right? That I like the fact that I can say I've worked at the White House and I've done this and I've done that. I like all of that. But I have a feeling that had I walked in my calling earlier, and had I spent my life pursuing what God created me to do, instead of trying to prove some idiot wrong, right? If I had walked in that, I have no doubt that I still would have ended up in the White House. And I
Wow.
still would have ended up doing these things, because the future is calling us. And so I don't regret that, but I'm just saying, to encourage people today, don't waste your life. Don't waste all your health, energy, and strength trying to prove yourself to somebody who doesn't even care anyway.
Wow. You are a hidden figure.
Yeah, like
The
literally, right? Like
movie.
that movie, I couldn't
Yeah.
hardly get through
I
that
feel
movie
like you
because it
should
was
be in it
so
as well.
true.
You are so amazing.
I have had bosses be like, "Yeah, we're gonna have you do the work because you're good, but we're gonna put up this guy because he has the look. He has, and it's always a white guy with blue eyes and blonde hair, and we're gonna have you do this." And after a while in my career, I was like, "No, you're not. No, you're not.
Wow.
I'm not going to do that anymore." But literally take my name off of something and put somebody else's name on it, but yeah, that whole movie, I was like, that's so true, that still happens, this still and my husband is like, can we please get through this movie?
Wow. You've been through so much. Like regarding racism, I can't like I haven't had the same hit as you. Like I'm not African American, but profiling things of that nature, yes, while I'm with black friends as well. And but other than that, it's just a scary world now overall. Like if you get pulled over, things like that, nobody ever just knows now. But to live that way, proving yourself every single day because of your skin color or your hair, I think that's BS. And we didn't come into this world just so some people could treat us that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got sad the other day. I saw advertisements for removing the pigmentation in your lips and stuff. And I was just like,
Excuse me?
I'm just so
Wow.
tired of the fact that we are not allowed to be who we were created to be. It's in this incredibly tolerant and open society that we have
Yeah.
today, we still just can't speak our truth. We still can't just be who we are. We still can't even acknowledge when people have hurt us without bringing backlash.
Yes.
When in the active duty Air Force or any of the services, when you go to speak at an event, you have to get it approved through your public relations and all that stuff. And I went to speak at Women in Cloud in Seattle at Microsoft headquarters. And so there's thousands of women, right? And so I send a message. I say, hey, here's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about being told blacks can't do physics, and I'm going to talk about how I overcame that and found mentors and things like that to have a successful military career. And when I got back from the PR folks was I think they call it PA, public affairs. But what I got back from the PR folks was, okay, we don't care. It doesn't have anything to do with the applied science that we do here. So we don't care. And it doesn't have anything to do with bombers, and it doesn't have anything to do with bombs, and it doesn't have anything to do with your physics work. So we don't care. Well, I got back and our whole organization had a backlash and a tongue lashing because somebody took the snippet of my talk about being told by the Air Force Academy staff, you can't do this because you're black. And they put it, and then I also told a story about a commander who told me he wouldn't put me in for a job because I was black. Now, before everybody gets mad at him, I'm actually glad he explained it to me, because he's like, look, I can tell you right now, we're firing one overweight black woman. They're not going to put another overweight black woman in her place. And so I'm not even going to burn the favor to put you in for it, even though we know that you're the most qualified. They're just optics. They're just not going to do that. And so even though I'm mad at the situation that was, I respected him. I actually still hold him in the highest of respect for at least laying it out on the line. But we live in a society where you can't even say stuff like that to people. You can't even have those conversations. You can't even have those conversations. And so I get back home and everybody's in an uproar. Well, if you're going to go speak, you have to put an outline of this and this and that and that. And I'm just like, okay. So what you're really saying was you didn't care until all of a sudden, now you care because it made you look bad. And so I want to encourage people, sometimes when you get that backlash, it's not that you did something wrong. If the audience says you're too angry or you're too this or you're too that, it may not be that you did anything wrong. It may be that they are very uncomfortable with the fact that they have been doing people wrong or allowing others to do people wrong for a very long time.
Wow. Just you've gone through so much, and it's just a smile on your face, as in like, I'm still here today and I'm living my best life. Like that's just what I see, like no matter what. And I like that, you're considerate of others' perspectives as well. Like, in his defense, or I don't even know if to say in his defense, but that you can understand his side of the story. Most people.
Oh no, I absolutely, well, I never was a commander, but as a military leader, I absolutely understand what he was saying. I absolutely understand what he was saying. It was never going to happen. And so for him, he's like, I'm going to tell you this, because if I don't tell you this, you're going to keep trying. You're just that kind of person. You're not going to give up, especially since you're the most qualified person for the job.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, it's not just about who's the most qualified. It's who are the troops going to respect. And right now, the general's not going to put you in that job. Wow. And so, but see, the thing is, to me, is I can tell you that story and I can be angry at the situation that created that story. But I am not angry at him because I felt he was being a leader. Unfortunately for us, we live in a society where most leaders would be like, oh, no, 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 no. Somebody else was better qualified, or somebody else was this or that. And because other people just kind of downplay or they refuse to acknowledge, then we can't fix the problem.
Mm.
See, he acknowledged what the problem was. Even though he felt like he wasn't in a position to do anything about it, he acknowledged what the problem was. And because he acknowledged what the problem was, we could move forward. And I carried that in anything else that I applied for. Like, okay, let me see what the optics are here. Do I need to overcome something? Do I need to build a relationship with
Mm.
somebody? Do I need to adjust for that? Because it's still happening in the world. But if you never talk about it,
Mm.
it's like this statistic. Man, I wish I had the numbers in front of me. It's like this statistic about how such a high percentage of children, and I hope this is
Mhm.
okay to say with your audience. If it's not, we won't talk about it, but a high percentage of children who are molested by
Mhm.
their mom's new husband or their
Mhm.
mom's boyfriend. Their mom is divorced or she was single and now she's got a new man. And
Mhm.
it's like 70 or 80%. I don't have the number in front of me, but it was
Mhm.
astounding. I just came from this thing on our on the foster home situation. And
Yep.
he was like, you know, if you would have told me that, if you would tell a lot of young mothers that,
Mm.
maybe they wouldn't date so much when their kids are young,
Yes.
you know? And at least they wouldn't date until their children are old enough to be able to tell them, hey, so and so touched me.
Mhm.
But we live in a society that refuses to even voice these things. And so if we don't voice them, we can't deal with them. If we don't speak our truth, other people can't deal with the fact that you hurt me.
Mhm.
I mean, even in and I'll say this and I'll stop. I don't know if there's any questions from your audience, but even in a relationship that's loving and kind, me and my husband love each other to death. Anybody who sees us
Wow.
traveling together, you can see that. But one of the things about me is I'm a very direct person. And I'm going to make sure
Mhm.
if you ask me a question, I'm going to make sure you very clearly understand my position. And he is not. He is absolutely not. He is the kind of guy that we can have a half-hour conversation about where to go to dinner.
Oh my.
Because he'll say, wherever you want to go. Okay, well, let's go to here, here, and here. Well, let's drive around and see what else is there. And so we finally had to come to a place where I could make it safe for him to express his opinions.
Mhm.
And I also had to be able to tell him, okay, we've hit 3 times of you asking me where we want to go. Just figure out where you want to go. I don't care anymore.
What's interesting is usually the opposite. It's
I
usually
know.
memes about, oh, where does the woman want to go? And it's like this time it's the gentleman. Where does he want to go?
Well, it's just a matter of personality, but I had
I
to
like that.
learn that my overbearingness and
Mhm.
my directness,
Mhm.
it made him he's naturally an agreeable, I think that's what they call it, an agreeable guy. He's
Mm.
naturally a chill guy. He's
Mm.
naturally the one that's not going to rock the boat. That's why everybody loves him. It's why I love him.
But wait, is he a yes man? I don't know if we briefly talked about this before in a conversation. Remember the prior one regarding where you stayed at the hotel or didn't stay at the hotel? Remember we were texting one time and he sent me
Oh yeah.
the
No, no, that now he just wanted to get home on that one. I should have put
Yeah,
my foot down on that one. But
yeah.
anyway,
You
but
were
the
so
thing is,
raw. I like it.
he
Yeah.
is he is he's the most amazing partner for me because we really
Mhm.
complement each other very well. And I like to tell
Aw.
people my husband only has 3 faults and I'm allowed to talk about all 3 of them. So but the thing with communication is for
Mhm.
him, there's different levels of communication. Really great book that really helped me was That's Not What I Meant.
Mm.
And you just don't understand. One of those is the original and the other one is the follow-up, but they basically talk about communication. And for me, my style of communication would shut him down from feeling like he could express or speak his truth. And
Wow.
sometimes we can do that to people, but I have found that our society is at large is way more like my husband than like me. So most
Mm.
people aren't going to tell you when you've stepped on their toes. And
Mm.
I had to get to him to a point like, look, if you don't tell me you don't like something I make, if you finish your plate, I'm going to make more of it because I'm
Mhm.
going to think you like it. And if
Mhm.
you don't tell me that I'm stepping on your toes, or if you don't tell me that something I grew up with in critical Northeast, my family's from PA and I'm
Mhm.
like the
Me
nicest person I
too.
know in Pennsylvania, right? Like because everybody is like cut you down like this, right? So you
Mhm.
know what I'm talking about, right? Well, if you don't tell me that I'm being harsh, I'm not going to know I'm being harsh because compared to where I grew up, I'm nice.
Right?
But you grew up
Philly.
in the South. You grew up in Louisiana and you taught in
Oh,
Texas all your life, and it's a different level of nice. So if you don't tell me I'm hurting your feelings, I can go on hurting your feelings all month and
mm,
never even know about it. But we don't even in our primary love relationships feel
mm,
like, can you see why I stole Carol's shirt now?
mhm.
Why I appropriated her shirt? We can't even
Wow.
feel like we can tell our truth. And
Wow.
we have to have a place where we can just be honest and just accept ourselves as how who we are, accept ourselves for where we are. We can't get
Wow.
better if we're pretending we're somewhere else.
Wow. This is amazing. I do want to ask you
Okay.
regard You are so funny. I want to ask you, regarding the debt and when you returned home, all of that being unexpected, right? Part of your story. Are you comfortable talking about that part?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I am trying to make a move and shifting my energy to kind of
Mhm.
lessen the discussion about my ex-husband.
Mm,
For a while, it was really hard for me to talk about him because he was
mhm,
so well respected that it felt really empowering for me to be able to say, this dude did this and this and
mm,
this and this. And there was a whole lot I've never talked about, but that's because I always felt like one day he was going to get right. And I
mm.
didn't want people to have known all of that. But as I become in
Yeah.
my speaking, a lot of people I've found have had the same story, especially in the military. You come home from a trip, you have given your spouse or significant other or caretaker of your child all these powers of attorney to take care of business on your behalf, to sign your name to documentation. And sometimes it's often, I'll just say often, not even sometimes. There are a lot of military people who come home to a mess. Maybe not an $800,000 mess, but a
Mm,
mess just the same. The spouse
right.
finds somebody else. They take advantage of the person who the service member who's away, and then when that person comes home, their life is a shambles. And for me, it was an additional layer of complexity because now I'm everything I didn't want to be. Like I structured my life and kept myself clean in college because I did not want to be a black single mom on welfare or some kind of public assistance. Like
Mm,
that was just burned into me. Even though my mom's Italian, she told me the story of when I was born and she was living on the streets because she had left a marriage that was whatever happened, and she didn't have a place to live at the moment, and she had to apply for assistance, and then she found out that her parents had applied for assistance when they got started, and it's one of those things that she never even knew because they recovered and they went on to live lives that didn't need assistance anymore. But that shame that she felt when the lady was like, oh, you're a repeat. So now I want to qualify because I'm sure a lot of your audience is young enough that this isn't a big deal. But when I was a kid, it was a really big deal if your parents weren't married. Like you were really shunned if your parents weren't married, and you were really shunned in the environment that I grew up in the military environment that I grew up in. You were really shunned if you were on assistance more than one generation, or
wow.
due to something other than a disability.
Mm,
Okay. And so that's the culture I grew up with. And so that shame of having to try and ask for assistance and then finding out that I made too much money for it. That's a great problem to have, right? Like you make too much
mm,
money to get help. But the thing is, when it's $800,000 of debt, you need help. And the help wasn't there. And so that is something I used to be really upset about. But now I realize if that was the motivation that caused me to learn about money. I had already been teaching people how to live debt-free lives. I had already gotten out of debt from college, and Larry Burkett showed me how to do that. And I had been already helping people. And for me, it's just such a freedom to know that I don't owe
mhm,
anybody anything.
mhm,
And so, and if you've never lived that life, you don't know that freedom. It's kind of like riding a motorcycle. Until you've done it, you just don't understand, right?
mm.
And for me to come back home and to see all of these things, I mean, he took my credit card that I had before I met him. Now, even though I lived a debt-free lifestyle back then, I still used a credit card. I would pay it off and get the benefits and all that things and the protection. But he took my credit card that I had before I even knew him and
Mm,
made himself primary on it, so I couldn't even close it. Because remember, you sign away all your authorities to somebody else. You give them the power of attorney to do all your business on your behalf. And he pulled equity out of our rental properties that we had and spent it doing who knows what, probably chasing after girls. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, when the dust settled, he said, we're through." And you can either fight me in court to help me have me pay for this money, and then I'll tell them that you're an unfit mother, that you've been gone all these trips in the military, and that I deserve to keep the kid. And I was like, I want my son. So it was almost like, you take the debt, you get the kid. And I got 100% physical custody of my son. He gets some authority as far as visits, but that's the life that I chose. And I do tell people now, fight a little bit more, because I don't think the courts would have given him to me. I mean, I don't think the courts would have taken my son from me, but in that emotional moment, I made the best decision that I could. And again, the journey allowed me to learn. I had a goal. I wanted to retire from the military and have flexibility and freedom. And that's exactly what I have. We celebrated last year. This is 12 years. So last year was 11 years. And we celebrated JJ is worth nothing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
am not worth
Up.
negative $800,000 anymore. I am worth nothing. Well, now I think I'm worth a little something, and next year I'll be worth a lot of something. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just
Hell
that
yeah.
journey and that freedom. And it's like, okay, this is a part of my life, and I don't have to be upset about this, because this is what motivated me to go on and do bigger things. Because what I learned about money is going to allow me to do bigger things.
It blows me away that you're an unfit mother, JJ, for being in the military. How dare you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that blows me away. Like, wow, okay. Like, it's like, you're not a woman. You know what I mean? After me experiencing pregnancy, like, I definitely understand. It's like, you don't know what a woman goes through, so sit your ass down.
Well, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, though. Here's the other thing. When my first son was born, he's almost 16 now. He'll be 16 here in a couple weeks. When he was born, I was going through this phase of, I want to stay home with the child, and I want to be a mom full time. And I found out that I was not a good full-time mom back then. I just, with that first day that I took him back to daycare, because I took all this extra leave because I just knew I did not want to leave my baby. But that first day that I put him at daycare, I was like, oh my goodness, I have missed being at work. This is where I belong, right? But the thing that really shocked me, and it's different with the second one. With the second one, I love being a stay-at-home mom. I just love it. But at that time, I just wasn't in a good place, and I didn't know how to accept I didn't know how to accept my rewards being intangible. So when you're a stay-at-home mom, your rewards aren't the promotions and the accolades and the bonuses and the recognition from your peers. Your rewards are less tangible than that. But what really, really struck me when I was saying and in that mode with the first son of thinking that I might want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I was nursing him and carrying that package all throughout DC so I could nurse him, and all these different agencies trying to find a bathroom or something. It's different now. It's so much easier now to do that. But these moms in my mother's generation, so people who were like my mom and my auntie's ages, they all were so upset at me. Like, how dare you quit your job and want to stay home with your son when we fought so hard for you to be a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. Well, I think I was a major at the time, for you to be a major in the Air Force, and for you to be able to have this job and be this technical committee lead, and for you to have the degree, because when I was born, women couldn't go to the college that I went to. And so, all these women who were, 15, 20 years my senior were like, I can't believe you're like slapping us in the face because you want to stay home. And we fought so hard for you to get out there and be able to do what the men do. And I was like, but I thought you fought for me to have a choice. And in that moment, I did choose to stay at work because my marriage was falling apart already. And I was trying to do everything I could. He decided he wasn't going to work anymore. So somebody had to pay the bills, and I made those choices. But I fast forward to today. Now that I am a full-time mom and an occasional entrepreneur, right? My speaking pays my bills and does all the stuff that I need to do. And my husband loves his job, so he's not working. He is working, but he loves his job. He's not in a toxic environment because we have the ability to have the life we want. But you fast forward to today, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. My oldest is doing so much better now that I spend more time with him, now that I'm home with him, now that I show up at all of his games. And I'm not saying that I did anything to cause him to be the angsty teen that he was up till a year ago. We all have to make our own choices, even our teenagers. But I will say that I value both.
Mm.
I really do. If somebody comes to me as a financial planning client and they want to stay home with their children, I look at the dramatic change in my family over the last year and I say, okay, let's figure out how you can get it done. Let's figure out
Wow.
a financial plan that lets you get it done. So I don't ever want anybody to feel like, they're making the wrong choice. And I had a group of over 1,000 military women who shot daggers at me with their eyes when I said we need to be able to honor the choice. If somebody wants to get out of the military and be mom, we need to honor that choice. If somebody wants to stay in and they want to serve in combat and they can hack the work, then let them do it and honor that choice. I'm gonna get off that soapbox now. I don't even know if
I
that's
like
really where
that.
you were going with that question.
At this point, I don't remember. But what I do want to say is, it was it really hard for you to rebuild trust again? I mean, now you're in a new marriage. How hard was that? Did you go through therapy? Like, what was your process with that? Like, how long did you, take a break for yourself?
Well, I was single for a long time because there's a real interesting thing about a woman who is really secure with herself financially
Mm-hmm.
and who has a high enough rank in the military. Most guys
Mm-hmm.
are really not
Speak it.
interested. I and I wrote a book. I don't know if I sent you this book. I wrote a book called
Mhm.
40 Dates in 4 Months. It's about the
Yeah.
summer that I met my husband and
Mhm.
all the different guys that I went out with. And I didn't go out with guys looking for a husband. I went
Mhm.
out with guys because the one I'd been seeing off and on for a year called me gap filler till the real thing came along. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna show you. I'm not some gap filler. I'm a valuable commodity, right?" And
Wow.
so I go out on all these dates with everybody who asks, but one of the things that I found out is as soon as they knew about my rank and as soon as they knew what I did, they would
Mhm.
lose interest. And for me, Mr. Man was one of those things that just kind of came along and he just never left. And it was like we had so much fun together. And it was like, and he was,
Yay!
yeah, and he's
And Mr.
he's
Man
one
is
of
your husband. I just want to let people know.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Man is my husband now, and
Oh,
like, we would go through the gate, and they would salute me, and he would just chuckle, like, he would beam with pride, like, "Yeah, that's my wife,"
that's a
and just
secure man.
yeah,
That's a secure
yeah,
man.
and then
That's
the other
right.
day, his buddy offered him a job, and he said, "Well, when I retire from teaching, by then, my wife is gonna be a multimillionaire, so I don't think I need your job." And,
Oh, wow. I love it. He believes in you so much. That's real. That's the
yeah,
kind of support partner and person needs.
and it doesn't come along every day.
No,
Yeah, and it's not easy to find, but the way I feel about it is I was fine without him.
that's right. It's like
I
you
was
didn't need him. It was like a blessing on top of everything you had.
and
But
the
yeah.
curious thing is when once I got to a point in my life where I didn't need somebody else, all
That's
these
when he
really
came.
good guys came along. And I'm telling you, almost everybody in that book, there's two jerks and like 30 something really good guys, right? But most of the guys that I met, they were good, salt of the earth, good job, cared about, and they all wanted to get married and have kids. I know because I'm still Facebook friends with most of them, and most of them have gotten married and had kids, right? Like they were good guys, and they
Mm,
weren't good for me in my time in life and my ministry and what I was doing. But those guys didn't come along when I was in my pain.
mm,
Those guys didn't come along when I was looking for someone to make me whole. Those
mm.
guys didn't come along till I had already done the personal work and the self-reflection and come to terms with the fact that this is my life and I'm the one who's in charge of it.
Wow. I love it. I definitely feel you. Yeah. No to insecure men. No
Mhm.
from me. No from you. Wow. So how long have you and your husband been together now?
We have been together for, I think, 10 years, and this will be
That's
our 8th
amazing.
anniversary coming up. Yeah,
Congrats.
yeah.
Congrats.
He's
I
he's a
do.
good guy.
Yeah. You say he's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Now, it takes a really, really strong man to put up with me. But now
Yeah.
I will say on that point, and I know we're getting short on time here, but I will say on that point, one of the things that people will find in that book, and you know what? Never mind. One of the things that people will find in that book, because I want to give it to your audience, and I realized in this moment that I don't know how to do that. Um,
Mm.
so I was like, oh, okay, never mind. We'll rephrase that later. But the thing that I found is that for me, being such a high-powered, very confident, very direct woman,
That's
I had
right.
to really evaluate what kind of man that attracted.
Mm.
And generally speaking, that did not attract the confident, strong man who was going to be the head of his household that I wanted. And I'm not
Mhm.
knocking what anybody else wants, but that's what I wanted. Like I worked as a man at work all day long. Well, when I was working, I didn't want to come home and have to be a man at home too. I wanted to come home and be a
That's right.
woman and flow in my womanly feminine arts and gifts, right? So I
Mhm.
needed a man who was going to be a man at home, who was going to plan the dates, who was going to take care of the trash, who was
Mhm.
going to drive me wherever I wanted to drive. I just wanted that. I want the man who was going to stand up when the bartender made some crassy remark about, oh, she doesn't drink. What is she on AA or something? I wanted a man who was going to shut him down, because
That's
usually
right.
I would like to have been the person that would shut him down, but I would get so flustered in the moment. But he's like, you're not gonna mess with my woman, right? Like, that's the kind of person I
Hell
wanted.
yeah.
But the energy,
Yeah.
the masculine energy that I always gave out would never have attracted that kind of guy. So I had to learn and to say, okay, I'm not going to change who I am, but
Mhm.
I'm going to make myself more of what the kind of guy I want is looking for in a woman. And
Very
so I
interesting.
don't think my husband's watching this right now, because he should be
Mhm.
teaching middle schoolers, but I'm going to tell you, there are times I I leave work for him to do that I could just do it myself, but I leave it for
Mhm.
him. I let him be the man. And I say, "Oh, I have a manly task for you to do today." And I could get it
I
done
can
while
learn
he's
from you
gone.
because I have pretty strong energy from you knowing me. It's like I have been told that a man can balance my energy out because I am so bold. I am
Mhm,
so secure in myself, and I keep coming across insecure men too
mhm,
for
mhm. Oh,
dating.
goodness, yes.
I'm like, I can tell, I'm like, red flag, next, next, next. It's like, because of the work I do, I'm so strong in who I am. Like, I don't
Mhm.
want kids, I don't want certain things. And it's like, to find someone, who knows, like, what I mean, that wants, is okay with just me, and that's it.
And that's the thing. It's like, how do I find somebody that's okay with me, with all of me?
Mhm.
And I still have to make those choices to honor him as a man, and I have to build in opportunities for him to be the man, because I really could just run all over everything and do everything myself, but he wants to feel
Mhm.
needed, and he wants to feel respected, and he wants to feel like he's important to me, and not just to look good
Mhm.
on my shoulder when we go out to eat or to pay the bills, because I'm a
Yeah.
frugal financial planner and I like for him to pay all the bills.
So do you know the book, Love and Respect?
Yes,
The Love He
yes.
Needs?
Yes, we
Yeah.
ran a study on it the last year.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that book.
Oh,
Love
the
and
respect,
Respect,
sorry, the respect he needs and the love she
and the Love She
desires.
Desires, and
Yeah,
then
I read
also
that.
His Needs, Her Needs. Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent, excellent book, because to me, because sometimes to them it's not important. What's important to them is
Mhm.
not important to us, and vice versa. And
Mhm.
but what I had to do was I looked around at all of my high-powered women friends, and I looked at the husbands that they had. And most of those guys were the guys that like to play the video games, and they just go along with whatever the wife wants. And that's great when you're headstrong and you want your way, but I want to
Mhm.
know that you have an input. I want to know that you've got some strength and some backbone. That helps me to respect you.
Mhm.
And
I
so I
like
could have.
that. Not just like agree with me, but like I need engagement.
Mhm. Mhm. And so
Mhm.
that's the thing for me. It's like one of my friends, we went on a date together, and I was trying to set her up with the guy, and he thought that he was setting me up with him, and it was just a mess. He wasn't even a good guy anyway. It was a fail, epic fail. But sometimes that happens, right? Like, you succeed, you always got failures sprinkled in here and there, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, "Why aren't you trying to find him?" I'm like, "Nope, we're gonna stay right here. He's gonna find us." Yeah, but the JJ I know would take charge, and we would go find him, and we'd go announce him over the loudspeaker and tell him where we're at. No, I texted him where we're at. If he really wants to find us, he'll find us. If
That's
we
right.
go find him, we're taking away his masculinity. And that's not a good way to
Mhm.
start a date. Of course, then by the time we met him, we were both like, well, we should have just left. But
Mhm.
it's
I
it's
like that.
it's about knowing what you want, and then understanding what you're willing to sacrifice to get it. And if it's too much of a sacrifice, then it's not for you, you
Wow.
know? And it could be, if you shift. Like somebody else was on the radio, and they said, "Well, so and so has 2 million followers, but or 20 million followers, when I've only got 2 million." And I don't even remember the names. Whoever it was rude, so I shouldn't even use that. But
I just
I
love
just
how real you are. Like, this person was rude. This person's
oh,
this.
they were, because I don't want somebody to go look it up now, because I'm like, oh wait, I shouldn't have said it. But the thing is the person was kind of salty about the fact they only had 2 million followers, and I'm thinking,
Wow.
you know, I know I'm called to do great things, and I know I'm going to have enough wealth to change communities because that's what's in my heart. And I know that
Mhm.
once that came into my heart, I know that I may not have it in my hand yet, but I've already been fully resourced to do everything that's on my heart. And that's going to take money. So I know I'm going to
Mhm.
have money. I'm going to have position. I'm going to have power. I'm going to have clout. I know I'm going to have all those things. I don't even have to worry about it. I don't have to fight for it. Right. But I also know that for me, when people talk about, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm like, well, that might be nice, but I want to have a cohesive, happy family.
Mm.
And I understand as an entrepreneur that I'm not willing to sacrifice
Mhm.
my family. And it's football season. I
Yeah.
have turned down a lot of paid speaking engagements because
Wow.
Thursday I go to one boy's game, Friday I go to my husband's game,
Wow.
Saturday I go to the other boy's game, and Sunday the boys all want to watch and husband want to watch football on the couch. And guess what? They want their mom or their wife to watch with them. So you know what?
Wow.
Guess who's not speaking?
You. But remember, Les spoke about that sacrifice as well, and
Yep.
he wishes, like, he not just the money his children needed. He was away, and he lost that time.
Right.
Time is,
You can't get
yeah,
that time back. And so for me, I said, okay, you know what? I could put in the work to make, to make this or make that this year.
yes,
And I'm on track. I'm on track to make what I'm on track to make. And next year it's going to be even more. I could do it
mhm,
a lot faster, but it's like, no, I'm good. I'm really good. My needs are provided for. My family is happy. I'm working on recovering after the car accident to restore my health and
mhm,
fitness. And
mhm.
life is good. And we're going to leave it that way.
Wow. I like that. Yeah, so you're doing better. I did mean to ask you, and it slipped my mind before we started about your, because I know you reached out to me regarding your health before. Yeah, I'm
Yes,
glad
and
you're
I would
better.
like to actually come back and talk about that. I just
Yeah.
realized the time I've been having so much fun with
No,
you.
it's okay.
I've
I
got
know
to
it goes
go,
fast.
but
When
this
people
is
ask me
great.
how long is it, I say it's free flow. It could be 30 to an hour. It's never like 30. Like, you know what I mean? Like rarely, if ever, like, come on now. But yeah, hi Rhonda. You can't get time back. It's it's so amazing to hear from you. I do want you to tell the viewers about you and, once again, the review of the work that you do and how you can help them.
Okay, well, the work that I do is I help people dump debt, build wealth, and leave a legacy. And we do that through a combination of educational classes as well as coaching. And so, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, again, on social media, it's JJ Knows the Way. And I do have to run because I'm supposed to be teaching like 2 minutes ago. But
Wow.
I have had so much fun. I certainly would love to come back and chat some more, have some chai
Yes.
together.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Namaste. Everyone, thank you for tuning in today. Bye for now. That was a quick bye.